shout out goes to Cappy of VagabondExpedition for giving me the "What's your Jeep story" call out. It's going back a few days now, maybe even a week or two, when I saw his video. So there's a fellow by the name of Chris Meacham who has a YouTube channel and has been putting out some nice videos. But like all of us, he's been watching other channels as well. And I guess he decided one day that, you know what, this is great. I'm seeing all your Jeep builds and all your adventures and everything. But what's your backstory? What got you into Jeeps and the Jeep life? And he recorded a video asking 3 people what their Jeep story was, and to tag 3 people in each of their videos, just to make it, sort of force it to go viral. Great idea. So I've been watching a few of those and thinking, well, should I just be proactive and record my own? And I've tried to. This will be, I think, my 4th attempt at this video. But today, I think this is going to be the final cut. Because what better place to do my Jeep story video than at home, or what was once home as a kid growing up. And I think that is what kind of inspired me to do the Jeep build that I have today and to live the adventures that I live today. So don't mind me, I'm just gonna get my breakfast ready here while I talk. A bit of coffee and toasted bagel this morning. So yeah, I grew up across the other side of this river, and as you see me today, I'm actually on a voyage home. Not to that same spot, but I've been in the area for the last little bit, visiting friends and family and whatnot, and just seeing the old sights of town. I'm gonna burn my bagel, aren't I? So yeah, my story doesn't, my Jeep story does not go back 20 years plus and tell you guys 30 years, 40 years, and tell you guys of fabulous travels out with the family, camping weekends and road trip weekends and all that stuff. None of that was there. Weekends, if we were lucky, we were hitchhiking on the road to a town that's about 20 minutes south of here to visit my grandparents. That was the extent of the travels. But having this river, having these trees, and having nothing, I think is what inspired me to be an adventurous person, because I was outside all the time. I was outside exploring. I was making do the best I could with a whole lot of nothing as a kid. And that was, building tree forts. I mean, I had a paper route and I'd be saving money up to buy the nails to build the tree forts. I saved up money to buy a cheap inflatable rubber raft so I could go explore this river. Saved up money to buy a mask, fins, and snorkel so I could snorkel dive in every aspect of this river. Fishing gear to go fishing. So I was living the outdoor adventure life more out of a necessity. Fast forward a few years, when you turn 16 and you want a vehicle, you get your driver's license. Couldn't afford much of anything, so I got a motorcycle, $1,000. And that was awesome. And when you're 16, you're typically looking for speed. You're looking for your escape and your getaway. And that's what it was for me too. A motorcycle that went fast and got me out of town fast. So I was still limited to the street. A couple years go by and I get a 4-wheel vehicle. I'll post up a couple pictures of it here. And yeah, it had 4-wheel drive. and it got me into modifying vehicles, which was fun. I really enjoyed that, working with, I learned a whole lot with fiberglass, the painting. I didn't do the painting myself, but you know, being able to come up with ways to do the paint creatively, the design, and as cheesy as it looks in these pictures, it was actually pretty good for its time back in the 90s. Boom and sound system, all the electrical that I did. I had windows that rolled up automatically when you push the button to lock it. You could set them in the summertime so that they crack a little bit for ventilation, things like that. So I really got into customizing vehicles back then. Still wasn't living the adventure, well, I was still living the adventurous life, but I wasn't living the Jeep life. Fast forward many years after that, you know, bought and sold many vehicles, but I did actually always want to have a Jeep. It just wasn't really in the cards for whatever reason. Burning my bagel. It's not too bad. But yes, it's still in the back of my mind, always wanted to have a Jeep. Because I did contemplate having a Jeep back as a kid. Don't get me wrong there. But when you want something that goes fast, and you're looking at the specs of the Jeep, and you're saying, geez, this thing will be lucky if I can go down the highway at a reasonable speed. So I skipped Jeeps. Fast forward to 2012, and I was without vehicles because I didn't need one. So on those rare occasions that I needed a vehicle, I was renting one, and I was getting what I wanted. I was getting sports cars. Excuse me, I was getting sports cars. I was getting whatever I wanted, convertibles, you name it. Then I got a Jeep Liberty once. I thought, hey, this is great. Spacious, back to four-wheel drive and all that fun stuff. So went out and bought a used one. Yes, it was a Jeep Liberty. It was the newer boxy designs. Kept it for a month. Went back to the dealership and I said, I want the Wrangler. Traded that Liberty in, plunked down some extra cash, and got myself a brand new 2012 Jeep Wrangler, the Altitude Edition that you see here today. Obviously, it's gone through a few modifications. But those modifications didn't start right away. I moved to Alberta. I had a job opportunity to go to Alberta from Ontario. And then I came across these guys. Dirt Church Off-Road. That's where the trouble really started, was with those guys. Because I saw all the builds that were going on. So as I went out exploring, when I would come up against an obstacle that was too much of a challenge, that blocked me from going further, so to speak, in my adventures, I went back to the city and I said, I need to do this to the Jeep. I need to do that to the Jeep. You know, first it was the tires and the lift, the whole suspension, because I was scraping bottom, trying to crawl through some of the rocks to get into some backcountry camping locations. Then it was this tailgate table because, hey, I'm out overnight. I'm sleeping in the back. I'm out overnight. I need something to, you know, make breakfast on. Lunches, dinners. Just to make it a little easier. So I got a tailgate table. I got a roof rack, a rooftop tent. And the build just continued from there. The trasharoo. Things like that. Then I started storm chasing. So then I'm, you know, modifying up in the front the Vector bar to mount camera gear and tablets onto. So I started doing all these things to achieve certain accomplishments with the Jeep and with my own adventures. So it's not really an exciting Jeep story, but it is my Jeep story. So those builds continue to today, to what you see it today. And now I go out on weekend adventures, week-long adventures, month-long adventures, and month-long adventures. Today I think I'm maybe close to day 100 as I record this of being out on the road. There's been off-grid camping. There's been camping in Walmart parking lots, all that kind of stuff. I do a little bit of everything now with the Jeep. And it's great. I love it. It's being out on the road. It's seeing something new. It's being somewhere new each and every day. And to me, that's what my Jeep story is. That's my Jeep adventure. So now, we come to the inevitable call out of 3 more people. And I thought this would be a tough one, because this Jeep call out thing has been going on now for a little bit. So a lot of people have already been called out and doing these Jeep call outs. And I'll apologize in advance if I'm calling you out and you've already been called out and answered, because I'm traveling, I'm way behind in my YouTube video browsing. Number 1, Coyote Works. You got some great travels off-grid, down south, exploring for abandoned mines and caves and things like that. And you're like the lone wolf sort of adventurer, sort of like what I'm doing here. So I want to hear your story. What's your Jeep story? Next, the epic family road trip. It's a little bit different because you guys are pulling a Jeep with your RV and going out exploring. So it's a little, I'm taking the Jeep story a little bit further and just giving it that little bit of a twist. But you've got a great build going on with that Jeep. And I want to hear your Jeep story. What got you guys started in the world of the Jeep? And feel free to branch off and tell us more about your adventures and life on the road, because you've got the whole family out there, which is completely awesome. Third is I want to hear from you. Introduce yourself down in the comments below. If you've got a YouTube channel, don't wait for someone to call you out. Go ahead and make that video of what your Jeep story is. If you're an overlander, let's hear from you too. We don't need to keep this to just Jeeps. Let us in on why you are the adventurer that you are today. Tell us about your adventures. Are you a weekend warrior? Are you out adventuring on a month-long or multi-month-long trip, maybe even for a year or two? Let us all know in the comments below. Let's keep this thing going. Let's make it big time. It's not just about Jeeps. It's about the lifestyle. It's about the adventure. Everything. Let's hear from everybody. Why are you an adventurer? What makes you tick? What drives you to go out and explore? For me, it's that outset. I'm not sure what that was. For me, it's being outside. It's the water that recharges my energy. It's a little bit of everything. It's just that need to see what's new and different, what's going on around that next corner. So let's hear from you. Post your links down below. Create a YouTube video. Just throw it in a description down below in one of the comments if you want. Type a few words. Explain who you are and what drives you to adventure. Until next time, thanks for watching.